For decades, the relationship between Israel and Iran has been defined by tension, shadow wars, and relentless rivalry. This conflict, rooted in the aftermath of Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, has shaped the security dynamics of the Middle East and driven cycles of violence, covert action, and diplomatic maneuvering. Iran's new regime, hostile to Israel's very existence, adopted a strategy of resistance by supporting and arming proxy groups across the region. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, and Shia militias in Iraq. Through these proxies, Iran projected influence and challenged Israeli interests, while Israel, in turn, waged a campaign of sabotage, cyber attacks, and targeted operations to curtail Iran's ambitions. This decades-long covert conflict simmered in the shadows, erupting occasionally into open confrontation. The infamous 2010 Stuxnet cyber attack, widely attributed to Israel and the United States, disabled Iranian nuclear centrifuges, setting back Iran's nuclear program. In the years that followed, a pattern emerged: shadowy assassinations of nuclear scientists in Tehran, mysterious explosions at Iranian military sites, and airstrikes against Iranian weapons convoys in Syria. By 2023 and 2024, the rivalry escalated as Israel systematically targeted Iran's regional proxies. The aftermath of the October 7th attacks by Hamas saw Israel dismantling much of the group's military infrastructure in Gaza. Simultaneously, Israeli forces struck Hezbollah positions in Lebanon and worked to disrupt the Assad regime's dependence on Iranian support in Syria. Each blow to Iran's proxies further isolated Tehran, raising the stakes for direct confrontation. Meanwhile, the diplomatic front offered little hope. The United States' withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action in 2018 marked a turning point, as Iran gradually ramped up its uranium enrichment. By June 2025, international inspectors warned that Iran's enrichment levels had reached an alarming 60–84%, dangerously close to weapons-grade material. The world watched with mounting concern as intelligence agencies warned that Iran's nuclear breakout was approaching. Amid this tense backdrop, a dramatic series of events unfolded in June 2025. On June 9th, the United States delivered a final ultimatum to Iran: resolve nuclear negotiations within 2 months. Tehran rebuffed the demand, and by June 12th, with the International Atomic Energy Agency raising the alarm, the region teetered on the brink of war. In the pre-dawn hours of June 13th, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, an audacious, multi-pronged air campaign aimed at crippling Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure. Over 200 Israeli aircraft, including stealth F-35s, streaked across the skies, striking approximately 100 carefully selected targets. Explosions rocked Iran's key nuclear facilities at Natanz and Isfahan, missile bases near Tehran and Tabriz, and command centers across the country. The Fordow nuclear site, a symbol of Iran's nuclear defiance, suffered devastating damage. The strikes were precise but devastating, claiming the lives of several high-ranking Iranian officials, including IRGC Commander Hossein Salami, Armed Forces Chief Mohammad Bagheri, and at least 6 nuclear scientists. The operation also targeted military installations embedded within civilian areas, resulting in heavy casualties and infrastructure damage. Early reports cited over 200 deaths, with hundreds more injured. Israel justified its actions as a preemptive strike designed to neutralize a nuclear threat that, according to its intelligence, was only months away from realization. The United States, however, maintained that Iran was still years from acquiring a nuclear weapon, highlighting the gulf between Israeli threat perceptions and broader international assessments. Iran's response was swift and fierce. By the evening of June 13th, Tehran launched Operation True Promise 3, unleashing waves of ballistic and hypersonic missiles, supplemented by swarms of drones, against Israeli military installations and urban centers. While Israel's Iron Dome and other air defense systems intercepted many of the incoming threats. Several missiles breached the defenses, striking Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and other populated areas. Civilians suffered casualties, and the specter of all-out war loomed larger than ever. Both nations laid out stark objectives. Israel sought to cripple Iran's nuclear apparatus, degrade its missile and air defense capabilities, eliminate senior military and scientific leadership, and assert long-term regional dominance. The operation's success would, Israel hoped, forestall an Iranian nuclear breakout and send a clear message to Tehran's remaining proxies. Iran, on the other hand, aimed to re-establish deterrence through its missile and drone barrages, demonstrate resilience to its domestic audience, and leverage its remaining power and proxy networks to widen the conflict's front lines. The aftermath was immediate and far-reaching. For the first time, Israel established temporary air superiority over Tehran, enabling follow-up strikes and deep reconnaissance. Casualties mounted in Iran, with hundreds reported dead, many of them civilians living near military targets. In Israel, while the death toll was lower, the psychological impact of missile strikes on major cities was profound. The international community reacted with alarm. Oil prices surged by approximately 12% as markets feared supply disruptions. Shipping slowed through the Persian Gulf, and global leaders, from the United States to the European Union and the United Nations, issued urgent calls for a ceasefire and renewed diplomacy. Human rights groups raised concerns about the legality of the attacks, particularly the impact on civilian infrastructure, and warned of potential war crimes. Domestically, Israeli leadership faced mounting criticism. Prime Minister Netanyahu's government was accused of escalating the conflict without a clear diplomatic exit strategy, echoing the uncertain aftermaths of previous Middle East wars. In Iran, the regime sought to project unity and resilience, even as it faced mounting economic and political strain. The United States, while providing intelligence and defense support to Israel, stopped short of direct military engagement. American leaders balanced the need to support their ally with growing domestic resistance to deeper involvement in another Middle Eastern war. As the days unfolded, the situation remained volatile and unpredictable. Airstrikes and missile exchanges continued, and the risk of regional spillover grew as Iran's proxies in Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen hinted at broader participation. Diplomatic pressure intensified, with global bodies urging restraint and a negotiated pause. Yet the threat of further escalation persisted, especially if Iran resorted to nuclear brinkmanship or if its proxies launched significant new offensives. In summary, the latest chapter of the Israel-Iran conflict is the product of decades of enmity, shadow wars, and failed diplomacy. Triggered by Israel's preemptive Operation Rising Lion and Iran's deadly retaliation, the confrontation has escalated rapidly, drawing in regional actors, destabilizing global markets, and raising profound ethical and legal questions. As both nations weigh their next moves, and the world watches anxiously, the outcome remains uncertain, teetering between a protracted air campaign, a fragile ceasefire, or a potentially catastrophic escalation.